Cruise Control streams live every Saturday starting at 10 a.m. Eastern. Watch us live on Facebook and YouTube. Details are in this podcast's episode information.
This is Cruise Control. Your on-air automotive magazine with co-hosts Fred Staub and Les Jackson. Everything you need to know about new and used cars. Industry news. We'll fix or repair your car on the air. Fasten your seatbelts and let us take the wheel. Now, your ride is about to begin. Because you're on Cruise Control. Cruise Control. Cruise Control.
And welcome to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Buckle up because we've got a great show for you. We're taking you on a ride around the automotive industry, new vehicles, new technologies, up-to-date info. My name is Fred Staub, and the other guy you're about to see is none other than Les Jackson. Les, how you doing this morning?
Excellent, excellent. We have a bit of a bumpy ride today.
Yeah. Why is there turbulence?
Market turbulence.
Uh-huh.
Well, but you know, at least the vehicles themselves are terrific.
Yeah, we'll tell you about one that is from Toyota, and it is a 3-cylinder vehicle that has 300 horsepower. Heat on the street. Toyota pops the lid off its 300 horsepower, 3-cylinder, all-wheel drive, street-legal rally car called the GR Corolla. What happened to that nice little sweet car that you could drive to pick up a gallon of milk?
Yeah, the one that the kindergarten teacher drives. Not quite all of them anymore. We'll tell you about it. And Ford is performing towing torture tests on the F-150 Lightning pickup. And boy, are they torturing it.
Yeah, they are, and that's something you have to do to make sure it can live up to the F-150 name. And then what dealer in your neighborhood is charging way over the MSRP sticker price? When I say way over, I mean 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, keep going over the 1,000, that is, MSRP sticker price. Well, there's a new website that will call out those dealers that are kind of helping themselves to a little bit more of your hard-earned money. Right, Les?
Pretty much all of them, isn't it?
There are some on the list. I took a look at that site, and there were some that were just selling it at MSRP.
Well, okay, we need to know who they are. And GMC'S Hummer EV is a hit.
Yeah, we'll tell you about that. And that is one that is being marked up 50, 60 grand.
Of course.
Before it even gets out of it. There was a story this week about a guy that went in and agreed to a price, and they said they're about to close it, and the manager comes out and says, "Oh, you'll need to add 50 grand to that deal." And of course, the guy walked out, and they probably sold it to some guy for 75 grand more, right?
Probably did.
Yeah. So that's a whole lot of stuff to get to, Les. We're also going to tell you about Hyundai doing something that's kind of interesting. They're making electric cars drive like internal combustion cars with some new technology. All that and more on Cruise Control. When we come back, check us out at cruisecontrolradio.com. You can find links to our Facebook page and more. We'll be right back. Cruise Control is your on-air automotive magazine. Check us out at cruisecontrolradio.com.
Cruise Control.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. We have a great first story, brimming with horsepower. But consider this for a second. I know you have, Fred, that you have 3 cylinders.
Right.
3 cylinders, about this big. And every one of those cylinders puts out 100 horsepower.
I know. It's pretty amazing, isn't it?
That's impressive.
Yeah. What we're talking about here is the GR Corolla. It was introduced this week. It has a 1.6-liter 3-cylinder engine. And those cylinders are probably, I know it sounds silly, but big because there are 1.6-liter fours, right? Well,
but that's a half a liter.
Yeah, okay.
Each, which is like a pint.
Yeah. 3-cylinder, direct port injected turbo engine, 300 horsepower, 273 pound-feet of torque, all-wheel drive, customizable front-rear power settings. It's available in 2 grades, Core and Circuit Edition. The Circuit Edition comes with black wheels and stuff like that. To me, this is, if someone said, you know what, I really wanted an STI, but I couldn't get it anymore. Subaru's not making it. I want that rally look. I want that snarling little rally car look with a manual transmission. Well, this could be an alternative for them. I mean, the Corolla is great. Yep. I reviewed it not that long ago. It's a great place to start. But this thing just takes it over the top, doesn't it?
You know, we don't know what this thing costs.
No, it's not out yet as the cost.
Even if it's, $10,000 more than the standard Corolla, which is only 22.
Yeah.
It's still a bargain if you want a high performance car that you drive every day for years. And as long as you maintain it, it's always going to be there.
Yep.
Now, I suspect it's going to ride a little hard.
Probably. I don't think ride quality was high on the list of the engineers, but to make it handle like it's glued to the track probably was.
That's right. And I'm sure it's got some serious brakes.
Oh, yeah.
Eye-popping brakes.
Well, it builds its power, maximum power, at 6,500 RPM, and that exhaust is output through a unique triple exhaust that's designed to reduce back pressure, kind of like what we've seen on some hot rod Honda Civics, right? From the factory.
Yeah. This is not going to be a tame.
Yeah, that's right. All this comes from the Gazoo Racing Group within Toyota. Gazoo, of course, is always odd to me because that was a character on the Fred Flintstone show. A little person from somewhere else, some other world. But this is going to be. I wonder, is this going to be $100,000 Corolla? Are they going to mark this up?
Well, yeah, because there won't be that many of them initially. So the dealers that get them, here we go.
Yeah,
they'll say, well, I kind of want. I know what the price is, but we sort of want 45,000.
Yeah.
And there will be people who want one.
Yeah,
they want bragging rights. They want to be just like other stuff. They'll pay it.
Now, on the Circuit Edition, the roof is actually made of forged. I've never heard of this, rather than woven carbon sheet molding. Lightweight and rigid, it keeps the ounces off what a steel roof would bring. It lowers the center of gravity. Aluminum is used for hood and front door panels. Lightweight, strong tensile strength in critical areas to ensure the car structure can absorb and dissipate impact forces. It's sort of like the old hot rods of the 60s where they acid dipped the fenders in that and made lightweight pieces for it. Pretty cool. It really is pretty cool. I love that silver color with the black wheels, and I think they're gonna have a hit here. And I tell you what, be fun to put that 300 horsepower 3-cylinder in something. We'll have to think about what we would put it in. and tell you about it after the break. Les, you just think on that, and
I'm thinking.
We'll come back and tell you about that. When we come back, Ford's torturing F-150 Lightning. Stay tuned to Cruise Control.
Cruise Control.
And welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Fred Staub and Les Jackson here. We are glad to be with you and glad to take you on a ride around the automotive industry. Ford was doing a bit of testing of the F-150 Lightning. Of course, if it's a truck, it's got a tow. And that was one critical part of the development of the Lightning. If it couldn't tow, well, then it wasn't really an F-150, was it? So,
that's it's just it's a go no go. If it didn't do it, they wouldn't bring it out.
By the way, Les, Ford is gonna be they're gonna schedule deliveries of the F-150 Lightning electric pickup in spring. It seems like they've been talking about this for quite some time. And I think people are really chewing at the bit to get this vehicle. But let's tell you about some of the testing they did on this vehicle. And it was definitely torture testing. They towed 10,000 pounds up Colorado's I-70 on the coldest February day in Boulder in 123 years. And they also did it in triple-digit heat up the Davis Dam to really, really pressure test this vehicle. Now, you can't get better than that. This was 11.4 grueling miles up the Davis Dam in the triple heat, and it really is it is a testament to the capability of this F-150 Lightning because, that is a total stressor, isn't it?
It's I've driven from Boulder up to the Davis Dam on I-70 in a car, and it's tedious enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's just uphill.
Yeah.
And it sort of never ends.
Yeah.
And you just go, oh man, get me to the top.
Yeah. Well, what they've also done is they have driven this in the snow. They were towing a trailer in the snow with the Lightning, and it is the world's toughest towing test. Wind chills were registering 0 degrees, and it's an 8-mile stretch of I-70 in Colorado that ascends up a 7% incline to a maximum elevation of 11,158 feet above sea level, towing in wintry conditions. Now, what do people say about electric vehicles in the winter, Les? They say that they get less battery.
Not as efficient.
Yeah, right. So this was certainly an acid test for the F-150 Lightning, and we look forward to seeing it. I tell you, that vehicle is going to be in demand for a long time. They just can't build enough of them. And you know what in demand means.
Well, and of course, the F-150 is 38 years now, the biggest selling truck.
Yeah, exactly. So we will keep you up to date on that and tell you more about it. Good torture testing by the folks at Ford.
You suppose they rented the trailer?
I don't know. I don't know. Probably, or what they put in it for weight, a whole bunch of engine blocks or something maybe. But
I think it was a bunch of snowmobiles.
Hey, let's talk about this new website called markups plural.org. Interesting thing that has come up about, of course, a topic you and I have been talking about a lot on Cruise Control.
Oh, boy.
About huge markups of vehicles, especially vehicles like the F-150 Lightning, the Hummer EV, and others, even simple vehicles like Honda Civics getting marked up $5,000. So there was a push to create a website called markups.com that would kind of list out what people's experience was at local dealers. Did they have to pay? What did they buy? And did they have to pay a big markup? And this was created by markups.org Vice President Tiffany Susie Howren, who is a consumer privacy and rights advocate. She's actually worried that people will come after her for this information, but I don't see that because there are many sites out there that talk about the experience in buying, and some of them are on Edmunds and things like that, reviewing dealers, and there's all kinds of information out there, and it's public information. If you want to share it, it's shareable, right?
Well, plus people for years have put their experiences on Yelp.
Yeah, things like that.
You can get that for every dealer. And these days, I'm sure there are lots of Yelps saying, well, he screwed me with an extra $3,000 marketing adjustment.
Market price adjustment.
Yeah.
She said that she called multiple Ford dealers in Texas, Louisiana, and Colorado looking to buy a Bronco. Every single dealer had a Bronco for sale, said no. When I asked if I could buy an MSRP, I found prices ranged anywhere from $18,000 to $30,000 over the MSRP.
Yeah. Now, the Broncos are hard to find. They're just not building them as fast as the demand. There's a pent-up 40-year demand for Broncos that hasn't been met in 40 years. And, it's a legacy type vehicle. And there are, what do you suppose, Fred, maybe 5,000 people that want to buy one and they don't care what they have to pay?
It must be nice to have unlimited funds to say I want it now, to the point of I will pay almost double for it. Yeah, I think Les, you shut yourself off there, your sound, but it's I don't know how people can spend that much money over $30,000. You could buy a Toyota Corolla, right?
Well, yeah, you could. But there are people that want to be the first to own it. They want the bragging rights. They want to show up at the whatever jamboree. Hey, I got one, and apparently they have the money, so they say, I'll spend it.
And it's that worth that much to, and then the thing's going to depreciate. So eventually, in 4 or 5 years, right? So I don't know.
Eventually.
I just don't think, though, I'm not saying they shouldn't make money. Maybe they should be able to mark it up a little bit. But when you're talking these numbers, like the most egregious case, I think, was one of the electric cars that was supposed to sell for $45,000, and the guy wanted $85,000 for it. They do whatever the market will bear, And if someone, for some reason, wants it so badly, and they would pay that,
it's turning into kind of an auction.
Yeah, it's turning in. It's almost becoming like the collector car auctions, where people are just trying to outspend one another to get something. I don't know. I hope this does not mean this is the way forward. That buying a vehicle will be, the MSRP won't mean anything, and we're looking at, on an average car, $5,000 to $10,000 more than the price. I think that just leaves a really bad taste in my mouth.
I don't believe that can happen.
In the next year or so, it might remain, but you're thinking it will change. Yeah. All right. Well, while we're talking on this subject, we'll just jump into this story about the Hummer EV. Well, actually, we'll jump into it when we come back. We'll tell you about the hit they have on their hands and how the price is going up on these things. We'll tell you more when we come back. We are live every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Watch us on Facebook and YouTube. Details are in this podcast's episode information.
Cruise Control.
Hey, welcome back to Cruise Control. Speaking of expensive vehicles, which it's getting harder not to.
I think that's all we speak of nowadays.
Yeah. The new Hummer, GMC Hummer, which is an electric vehicle. It sort of looks old Hummerish.
Yeah,
not a lot.
It's really heavy. It's almost 10,000 pounds.
Extremely heavy. 9,000 pounds, which is, no matter how you cut it, 4.5 tons, which weighs about as much as a family-sized pizza.
I don't know what that means, but
these days. But
yeah.
But anyway, they're expensive,
and they are selling like hotcakes. According to a report from CNBC, GM has over 65,000 reservations, both for the pickup and the Hummer SUV, and 95% of those are expected. Those reservations are expected to convert to a deal. What about that? That's a lot of money for GM. Remember what we said now last week. Volkswagen sold less cars and made more money. To me, this is the future of the auto industry. Sell cars for $150,000 and the less expensive market will just be used cars. Or there'll be other manufacturers that come in. I mean, we're going to talk later about a Vietnamese manufacturer called VinFast. Other manufacturers will come in.
They will.
And they will sell the affordable $40,000 cars.
Exactly. Therefore, I go back to my statement that this usurious era we're living in won't continue. That the competition will always bring the prices negotiable the way they used to be, except for the really desirable stuff.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is vehicles like the Bronco, the Hummer EV, etc., right. Maybe even the VW ID Buzz microbus, that will be part of the industry of overcharging significantly, maybe 50 or more % over the MSRP until they start building the vehicle. If maybe they won't build more vehicles, though. Maybe they will artificially limit it and just keep the price high. But I'll tell you this, Les Jackson, the manufacturers are not going to put up with the dealers making that extra $50,000. They want that.
They want it, and I think you've touched on this. I think what we're going to see is the manufacturers putting the market-adjusted price on the MSRP. You want a Hummer? It's going to cost you $130,000.
Well, you look at Tesla. They raised their prices significantly across the wide range of vehicles, and they are basically sold direct, aren't they?
That's right.
Yeah. So I believe it will be a lot more expensive to buy a vehicle. I think also leasing will become huge because people just won't. They'll just say, well, it's just like anything else, a monthly cost of $400, $500, and that's what they'll be doing. I don't know. It's a big change. I think it's a sea change coming. Some of it driven by technology. I think vehicles will get more expensive. To me, an electric vehicle should cost less once it's developed. It's easier to put together, less parts, but right now it won't. And it may be kept artificially high for years to come.
electric vehicles are where color television was in 1964.
Yeah, you're right. Because if you wanted to buy a color television, it was $800, $900. Yeah. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. Well, talking more about this, we were talking about markups. Apparently, as we told you, some of the manufacturers have cautioned, especially in the case of this GMC Hummer, they have cautioned people, dealers, not to overcharge. I mean, it is a $110,295 vehicle. So somebody in California went to buy it at Penske Buick GMC in Cerritos, California, and they agreed to that price, and they want to sign the paperwork, and out marches the manager, says, I'm going to have to add $50K to that deal. So it's not like they're buying like the used car, high mileage car for like $1,500 or something. They were spending $110,295, right? Agreed to the deal. And at the last minute, out walks this manager and says, I need $50K more. That feels like a shakedown, doesn't it?
I'll tell you what I would have done.
I would have said, fold that car.
And I would have done this. I would have said, all right, I'll be back in an hour. I need to go to the bank, and blah, blah, blah. Make an excuse. Go out, call the TV stations, tell them there's going to be a very dramatic happening at a dealership in about a half hour. Then go to the bakery and get a banana cream pie or two. Come back to the dealership with the cameras there and wail that pie into the manager's face. That's what I would do that.
Well, I mean, I tell you, I don't know. And the buyer was told, take it or leave it. That's a wonderful way to do business. That is a great way to do business. So,
that's professional.
Now, the buyer fought back and informed the dealer of GM's pricing guarantee, and they didn't care. And they said, who would want to do business with them anyway? As far as if that's the way it starts off when you're coming in to buy $110,000 vehicle. So I don't know. It just seems wrong. But let's talk a little tech, shall we?
Absolutely.
Over at Hyundai, they have filed some patents, and this is according to CarBuzz, because they always have the patents, their eye on the patents. And they have filed a patent. The idea is they would make an EV seem like an internal combustion car with vibrations similar to those of an engine, with the sound of the car, with the ability of the transmission to go through the gears, and really make it a familiar type experience with ice-like noises. There could be a boost of a turbocharger sound. There could be anything you could think of that would relate to driving a internal combustion car. Now, this is interesting. I think the biggest thing we would both miss on an electric car is the fact that you don't have that visceral experience of going through the gears, of hearing things like a turbocharger or whatever. But this will have a limited shelf life, because while we know about that, and there's still many people that enjoy that sound that are younger than this, eventually people won't care. But maybe you could make it that you could turn it off. What do you think of that?
Well, if you can turn it off, that's fine. Personally, I don't see why people care about that familiar experience of starting the engine and putting it in gear. I think people prefer to be more isolated from their cars than they were 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago.
Well, on the one Corvette forum, some people that bought a C8 were issued a kind of a what would you call it? Like a poll. What would you miss in an electric Corvette? Would you miss the fact that it's loud when it starts up? Should it be louder when it starts up, like the current cars? And so I think there is a concern out there that goes away.
Well, but for specialty. But I don't think somebody driving a Lexus or an Escape or
regular
whatever,
A to B type car.
I just don't think that those millions of people are going to care about. I think the typical Hyundai buyer would say, "Well, why did they? It's cute, but why did they bother?"
Well, but if it was an N-line Hyundai or something, maybe that like a performance model.
Sure.
But I think it's something to be considered. I think it's certainly something they could do with a sound system or whatever, and it can be just inside the vehicle. That's the good thing. It can be quiet outside. So, yeah. Well, we will always be talking about great technology on Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. When we come back, we've got plenty more to go, so stay tuned. I'm Fred Staub. He's Les Jackson. You're on Cruise Control. Cruise Control is your on-air automotive magazine. Check us out at cruisecontrolradio.com.
Cruise Control.
Welcome back to Cruise Control, your on-air automotive magazine. Still plenty more to go. Stories just coming from everywhere, Les Jackson. We've got one coming up from Kia now about the Kia EV9. This was a concept that was shown a while back, and it has now been confirmed that this kind of squared off all-electric SUV, the EV9, will be coming to Kia stores near you in 2023. It's sort of like the electric Telluride, I have to say, but it's going to be an individual model. They describe it as a first-class lounge, the cabin. It's got a 27-inch ultra-wide display that would house the EV9's features such as a media interface, climate control, and other vehicle functions. It's inspired by nature, with upholstery made out of recycled plastic bottles and wool fibers, and recycled fishnets are used for the flooring. I could see this certainly rolling into Kia dealerships. It's also going to roll on 22-inch machined wheels.
Wow.
So
that's getting big.
Yeah. So this is the same platform that underpins the EV6, and it may utilize a dual motor setup, giving it four-wheel drive capabilities. I can certainly see something like this in the Kia lineup, and we will be looking for it in 2023 for sure.
Yeah, and it's going to have auto mode, which is an autonomous system that allows for self-driving on certain highway sections.
All right.
Not everywhere, not most places, in fact.
The other thing I was looking on at one article, and it said about how one of the big things you're going to see in automotive vehicles is aerodynamics like you've never seen before. And this next vehicle we're going to talk about has some of that. But on this EV6, EV9, I should say, they have retractable roof rails and roof racks that will retract.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I think you're going to see aerodynamics play a huge role, as they do in this electric hypercar from the folks at Lotus. We haven't heard much from Lotus. I think this is called the L-Tray. L-Tray. I guess that's how I would say that. It is their first electric hyper SUV, because it's got to be a SUV.
Gosh. A Lotus SUV.
A Lotus SUV. Would you think that would have ever happened in the past?
No. honestly, I wouldn't have.
Yeah. It's going to be manufactured in an all-new high-tech facility in China to start later this year. Is Lotus owned by China? A Chinese company?
Yeah.
They may be. Okay. The most advanced active aerodynamic package of any production SUV, including all kinds of flappers and that type of thing that is found on the front grille. It is the first of 3 Lotus Lifestyle EVs that will appear in the next 4 years. It has a power output of 600 horsepower, which seems to be the number that people are really talking about when it comes to powerful electric cars. It can charge. You can get a 248-mile range of driving in just 20 minutes of charging at a 350 kilowatt charge. It is quite the aerodynamic vehicle for sure. And what I'm finding is a lot of these new SUVs are becoming very much like a hatchback sedan. They are getting squashed down.
Yep. Fine by me.
Getting a lot less boxy. And you see this kind of format. We've seen it in everything from the EV Equinox to the Crossfire concept that was shown by Chrysler, and now with this Lotus. It seems to be the form factor of the future, which is not bad. It is kind of a high-waisted sedan with a hatchback on the back, and certainly losing the boxiness of it. It's a good-looking vehicle. It's going to have the world's first deployable LiDAR technology, and it will join the exclusive 2-second club. Nothing that's there's nothing that is 0 to 62 miles an hour in less than 3 seconds.
It's reaching the limit of physics for acceleration, largely limited by tire adhesion and road surface.
Yeah, it's a good-looking vehicle.
2 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wonder if people are ready for that kind of acceleration.
I don't think so. You're pulling about 1.5 Gs.
I just don't think that a lot of people will be used to that light switch type performance where it's just
they're going to get tunnel vision.
Yeah,
momentarily. Probably a muscle tension headache.
Maybe drive off the road and like they're. I mean, what I liken it to when I went to the drag racing school, that was 0 to 60 in I think under 1 second or 1.1 second, and it's like somebody dropped you off a building, and all of a sudden, and I've never felt like anything like that at that point, and it was a bit. It shocked you. Every one of us. Hit the throttle shocking. and then immediately backed out because you just didn't expect it. You know, you're like, whoa. But now once you knew it was coming, then you started to get used to it. But I don't know. I think people will have to get used to it. I find, too, and you and I have talked about this, what will push electric cars to the forefront is they will just drive better than internal combustion cars. And we're going to talk about this when we come back on Cruise Control, because we're going to start off the next hour with some talk about federal regulations and CAFE fuel economy numbers that are really stepping up very quickly. This means the internal combustion vehicles that are left over will be geared to slowly accelerate and multiple speed transmissions, and it's not going to have that instant boost the way electric cars have it, and people will migrate to the electric cars for that feeling. Just one of my many theories. I don't know. Would you agree?
You're probably onto it.
Yeah. So that's something that's coming up in the second hour of Cruise Control, and we hope you stick around for that. But we're also going to look at Mercedes putting a huge price tag on their AMG, their first AMG electric. We'll have it as the Tesla turns, Les, with sold-out models, total domination, and a drunk novice. We'll explain why one of his cars was called a drunk novice.
Yep.
And that it actually got bought back by the, I believe it was the German or Austrian lemon law, their version of the lemon law, because they said it couldn't drive. It couldn't drive well. It was a drunk novice. Well, hey, we appreciate you listening to Cruise Control. Don't forget, check us out at cruisecontrolradio.com. There are links to all our social media pages, Facebook page, and more. Time for me to say, I'm Fred Staub.
Les Jackson here.
I'm going to see you down the road.
Bye.
Cruise Control streams live every Saturday starting at 10 a.m. Eastern. Watch us live on Facebook and YouTube. Details are in this podcast's episode information.